I said, what do you think? And he said, I kind of like it. I kind of like it.
I'm getting used to it. But you have all your hair.
I have all my hair. You thought I was bald by force, not choice.
I did. And now that I see it, things are making more sense.
What are they doing behind me?
Things are making more sense.
Why are they throwing this up there? We're supposed to talk football. Coaches here.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I look different. I will admit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I look better or
The guy on the left is before me. The guy on the is after
I
me.
thought you doubled as an actor. You could have sold it a little more. Let's talk Big Ben. He's the clear face of the Steelers after the team shipped off Antonio Brown to the Raiders and after Le'Veon Bell signed with the Jets. Roethlisberger admits it's been a fairly tumultuous few seasons, but he's ready to get things back on track in Pittsburgh.
Seems like a calmer, a less dramatic atmosphere in the locker room and outside as well. Is that helpful? It's a little bit calmer around Steeler country?
You know, it's been a little crazy the last few years, maybe more so than usual that we're used to dealing with. So to kind of get back to quote-unquote normalcy is kind of nice.
Coach, can Roethlisberger and the Steelers get back to normalcy this season?
I don't know what normalcy is for Pittsburgh because historically normalcy has been some sort of controversy, and that's the way that they've operated, and they've always operated at a very successful level, doing it that way. And there's some people and there's some teams that are like conflict diamonds. They need that stuff in order to become to realize that their potential. And I like the fact that they're in a situation where they can operate without distractions, and we should see some jumps in terms of performance if they really feel that was the reason that they weren't succeeding like they should have. But it's going to be interesting to see whether they can operate in that world and be successful, because it's not really who they've been.
Well, this is the thing, too, Coach. No one has really kind of reported on the Pittsburgh Steelers the way you have. You talk about Mike Tomlin, you talk about the dysfunction, but you talk about the success within the dysfunction. But you also love continuity. You love the fact their general manager, their head coach, and their quarterback, you believe that that triangle right there is the type of things that have teams be successful, and you have seen this in the league. Sometimes your team can be a better football team. It's not basketball. You know, but a football team with less talent because of some of those other ingredients that you like.
I'm a big believer in that, and people are able to realize their potential in those environments, because it's just like teaching or being in a classroom. If you've got one or two students that need all the attention, the teacher can't pay any attention to the other players that are trying to improve, and it just becomes counterproductive. Now, if they're talented enough, you get that, you understand that, and you deal with that to a point. But now they're in a situation where there aren't distractions, and there aren't the excuses of distractions. So now what does Mike Tomlin produce in this environment? What does Ben Roethlisberger produce in this environment? And who steps up from that other group of guys? And I'm sure there is going to be somebody, because Roethlisberger is he's a force multiplier.
All right, so let's talk about Ben Roethlisberger, who you talk as glowingly about him as I hear you talk about any quarterback maybe this side of Tom Brady. And he's deserved. He's been to 3 Super Bowls. He's won 2 of them. He has shown even in the later stages of his career he can be a prolific volume passer, but also early in his career game manager. And he's played through injuries. He's done it all. He's been part of the Steelers' different family dysfunction. He also speaks out differently than almost any other franchise quarterback does. He's a little more polarizing than really almost any other franchise quarterback that we have. When you hear Big Ben come out and say, return to normalcy, when you have Antonio Brown come out and talk publicly now that he's gone about the issues within that locker room, how much of responsibility for Ben Roethlisberger as the unquestioned leader on that team now is to make sure whatever potential landmines or distractions there are throughout the season do not come from him, do not come from things he says or he does that could distract a team that is going to have to win this year with less talent than it's had in the past.
Well, you make a really good point, because he has been part of that dysfunction, and he has been part of the issues that they've had. And now that those things are removed, and because he wanted those things to be removed, he has that much more responsibility to make sure that this becomes the new status quo. That the second that adversity hits, and Mike Tomlin talked about that, he said, yeah, things are great, but we haven't really faced adversity yet. when it doesn't go great against New England game 1 or Seattle game 2 or when they're on the road against San Francisco game 3. Yeah, I'm not predicting outcomes, but I am predicting challenging situations. Just opening at New England, yeah, that's a challenging situation. Dealing with Seattle in week 2, who knows where they'll be, and then having to go to the West Coast, all those things are potential. Create potential adversity. So let's see what Ben does. Let's see what that group does. But it is absolutely his responsibility to make sure that he doesn't restart the fires.
If he takes the appropriate approach in how he conducts himself, the leader that he is, what concerns you about the talent on this team or areas of which is on the field they need to shore up?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what approach they take offensively, because they led the league in attempts, passing attempts last year, and getting some more balance there. Seeing where the defense goes, seeing what kind of evolution that has. But I'd like to see some balance between the running game and the passing game and allow that young defense to develop.
Yeah, and especially defensively up front. There's two things that match the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have a tremendous amount of pass rushers that can get after the pass, after the quarterback. If I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin, my career's on the line, my reputation's on the line. I'm getting ready to go back to the old Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to become an intimidating force. Even from a defensive standpoint, I'm allow them to play on the edge. Might get a couple personal fouls in as far as the secondary. I'm going to play more combination coverages. Not going to play a lot of man-to-man because they haven't been good at that. And on the offensive side, I'm totally doing a 180. I can't lead the NFL in passing. I got to lead the NFL in rushing. I got a great offensive line, got a great young running back, and Ben's going to have to swallow his pride and be able to hand the ball off and realize, get this game in the fourth quarter, and I got one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And when you have someone like Ben, they're going to win a lot of those games. So for me, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I go back to the old Pittsburgh Steelers, steal something out of there, and I go back to being physical. I go back to being intimidating. And every team in the league is going to struggle. What does Ben Roethlisberger say when they struggle? Because I know what Tom Brady's going to say. I don't know what Ben Roethlisberger, and I don't know what Aaron Rodgers. Those are the two wild cards as far as the great quarterbacks. Drew Brees, they could lose 3 in a row. I don't expect it, but I do expect him after that to have a press conference and tell us all the things that he's supposed to say compared to how Aaron Rodgers has done things and how Ben have done things.
And I don't want to hear that there's not enough talent around him. Like, to me, that cannot be part of this narrative during the course of the season. You cannot say he doesn't have enough talent. They made a conscious decision to go with the group that they went with, and now it's his job to take the talent that he has and elevate them.
And what the approach you're talking about is an approach I was highly critical of last year when a different team did it that didn't have the personnel and didn't play in the division and the weather Pittsburgh does to where it fits. What you're talking about is how Seattle did things. We're going to try. We got a great quarterback. We're not going to unleash him until the 4th. We're going to try to play great defense. We're going to run the ball a disproportionate amount of time. And as an added bonus, if things don't go right, we know our quarterback's not going to say something wild at the press conference. That's what Seattle was last year. It got them to the playoffs. I don't think they have the offensive. I know they don't have the offensive line Pittsburgh does. I know they don't have the running back Pittsburgh does. They might not have last year had the pass rushers Pittsburgh does. So Pittsburgh can take a page out of that Brian Schottenheimer playbook that annoyed me so much last season in Seattle and maybe have it be successful in Pittsburgh.
All right, Coach, we're going to see you a little bit later in the show, but coming up, is Chris Paul demanding a trade? Vince Goodwill joins us to discuss his bombshell report next.
Oh, Vinny's here? What are you guys doing? Our producers have never got up graphics that quickly.
That's amazing.
It looks good.
You need to do something about that Draymond, man.
Oh, I'm talking. You're talking about...
Hey! Uber? I'm LAPD.
Whoa, you big. Getting a great ride.
You can help me crack a case I've been working for years.
It's gonna be uber fun. Here we go! Hold on, I'm gonna bang a Yui here real quick. Nope, don't got it. Hold on.
Stuber. Rated R. Trailer online now.
Ready for an upgrade? Today is the day for doing. Because the Home Depot has instant savings of up to $600 on appliances with no rebate and no hassle, so you can fuel your team for less. Save instantly on top appliances like the Samsung Family Hub Kitchen Package, only at the Home Depot.
Izzy is crazy about boxes. In her lifetime, she'll jump in and out of hundreds.